All right, thank you guys for joining me. We have been working on a series based on the 8 limb path of yoga, and I do this about every year, year and a half. And every time I present it, I try to tweak it or present it in a different way. So, the last time we did this, which was about a year ago, I don't know if you guys remember, I handed all of you sheets. And Madison, I know you got this in teacher training. But if you can see at the bottom, it says yamas and niyamas are the roots or the foundation of the practice. And we went over those the last 2 weeks. So there were 5 subheadings under each one. And that is like the moral, ethical code that we try to live by and follow to have a more meaningful, enriching, healthy, happier life. So this week, um, so when I gave you the sheets before, we really detailed it. This year, we're just going to kind of breeze through it. And this week, we're going to go ahead and work on 2. And the 2 that we're going to work on is asanas and pranayama. So asana means a comfortable, stable seat. So we know in the beginnings of yoga, it was just seated postures in preparation for meditation. So you could do the self-study to notice how your mind's conditioned, to see what you gravitate towards, when you're thinking, and certain emotions that you can get wrapped up in. And lots of times it's not helpful or useful in the now moment. And so yoga is trying to teach and to train us how to have some control over the mind, because the senses want to take over. So with asanas being a comfortable, stable seat, once the classical yoga mixed in with modern yoga, and this came in through tantric yoga started focusing more on the physical body and looking at the body as a temple, that houses what is infinite or houses the soul. So it was all about how can we take care of this vessel. And so they also noticed during meditation, they would spontaneously start to move and work out kinks energetically or discomfort in their body so they could sit comfortably once more. And so a lot of these poses kind of came up spontaneously. So if you look at the names of the poses, Tadasana, Shavasana, Vrikshasana, they all end with asana, and we tend to refer to asana as postures, and that's kind of the modern way of looking at it. But we need to remember it's really comfortable, stable seat. So when we're doing a standing pose, when we're holding a plank pose, what we're trying to establish is a mental, physical, and energetic connection. And those are all trying to get into alignment and balance to move us towards the state of yoga. So we're going to be working with blocks today, and we're not going to be moving as quickly because I want us to focus on, kind of the anatomical alignment of it. Just be careful when I'm giving you instruction, because I have a tendency as a teacher to sometimes exaggerate that motion. And you may have that in yourself as well. So when I'm asking you and giving you certain directives, when you're applying it physically in your body, be careful that you don't strip the muscles. We don't want to strip the muscles or drain ourselves energetically. So we're trying to find that blend of effort and ease where we have stability, where we can still breathe. And then pranayama is the 4th step on the 8 limb path of yoga, and that is energy control, which we use breath for. So the breath work that we do is to help us, again, create that alignment energetically, mentally, and physically. That breath is tapping us back into our higher self. And we're going to start off in a pose where we can really open up the chest and the breath before we start moving anymore. So bring your 2 blocks to the mat, and I will meet you there. So when we use these blocks, we're going to take the first one onto its tallest height, and the second one on its middle height. And I usually have like 2 or 3 inches in between the two. And what you're going to do is you're going to lay down so that your ribs are supported by that first block. And you want to kind of bring it in between the shoulders. And then the tallest block is going to rest underneath your head. Now your arms can just angle down beside you, but I would suggest turning the palms open. If it feels like it's jabbing in your back, then you can get up, maneuver it a little bit. I had to do that. Until you finally hit that right spot where it's comfortable, right? Even though we're more supine, we're still looking for that comfortable, stable position. Close the lids of the eyes. Notice the block under your back is really jutting up the cavity of the chest, expanding and opening the chest for the lungs to have space so that we can increase and improve our pranayama. So start some deep breath work, breathing in and out through the nose. If you have anything weighing heavy on your mind, you can obviously do a more cleansing breath. Breathing in through the nose, audibly with a sigh through the mouth. Notice, because the block is underneath the spine, the shoulders get to hang back, drape down. Continue to improve the quality of your breath. Washing away any stress or worry from your mind. You often talk about blossoming open through the heart. Sometimes blossoming opening through the hips. Because the chakras that align in these places are symbolized with lotus flowers. I heard a really cool saying the other day, and it said, be like a flower who doesn't care if it's ever seen, for it's going to bloom anyway. Let's take a few more deep breaths. Surfing the wave of the breath up and down from your belly and chest. Trying not to take the breath for granted. Still activating it so it's not on autopilot. Using it to center yourself before we continue to move. Now, go ahead and bring the hands down beside your body, palms pressing. You're going to use your upper body strength, your core strength to come up off the blocks. Go ahead and take the blocks from behind you and set them at either side of the front side of your mat. And we're going to do a counter pose after this. And it's going to be the full butterfly, but the yin version. Since I said yin version, if you have a history of herniated disc and you want to protect your disc, you can draw the heels closer and keep the back more neutral as you descend. But if you want the counter with the rounded back in the yin form of butterfly, slide the feet forward so you have that diamond or rhombus shape. Hands to the knees, shoulders pull down and back away from the ears. And then as you exhale, pull in from your rib cage. Start to slide your hands down towards the feet. And then just round down over your lap. Even let your head dangle if you're doing this more relaxed version. So earlier we were breathing into the front side of the body. Now I want you to close your eyes and breathe into the back side of your body. Feeling the breath undulate up and down alongside the vertebrae. Let's take 3 more breaths. Pull the belly in and then slowly walk your hands towards you to erect the spine. We're going to take the hands under the knees, lift them up and separate the feet even as wide as your sticky mat. We'll do a little warm up for the vertebrae. Hands are going to cup a hold of the knees or shins. As you inhale, you're going to reach the heart and chin through. The shoulders roll and squeeze back towards the spine. And then as you exhale, you tuck the tailbone, pull the abdomen in, straighten your arms, and sink the chin to the chest. And then we're just going to move back and forth. The knees can sway wider as you inhale. And the knees are welcome to narrow as you exhale. Continue with these seated cat-cows. Last one. Then inhale, come back up to sit. Walk your feet in closer. And this is where we're gonna boost ourselves up to take Malasana squat. So if you want to use a block to make this more restorative, you can turn it at any height and you're welcome to sit on it. And maybe that gives you better balance and maybe this is what you need today. If you're doing it actively without the block, your heels may be up or down, but your tailbone is trying to face the floor, even though it's not perfect. And the crown of the head is rising towards the sky. You can also spread the hips by taking the elbows into the knees and sliding the thumbs down the sternum. Take some deep breaths here. Now release the fingertips to the floor. Turn your feet so they're aligned with the outer strip of your mat. And then just let your upper body hang free. Now, I'm not giving you too many directives right now. That's going to happen more after this pose. So you're welcome to have the knees straight or bent, whatever feels best in this moment. I would like you to just gently wiggle the shoulders, loosen them up, and then eventually loosen the neck a little bit. Nothing too vigorous, just light, gentle movement. Take a cleansing breath here, in through the nose, blow it out through the mouth. Notice how the head sinks lower with that out breath. And then take your hands up to your hips, press down through the feet, and slowly begin to rise up to stand. And bring the feet together. All right, I'm going to turn to face you for the first couple poses. Your first block is going to go in between your thighs. And then look down at your feet, because lots of times bodies will start to turn the feet out. My son's been doing this. He's a soccer player. And so I'm always telling him, correct your alignment, correct your feet. So see if you can do that. Now, I do realize some people's bone structure may not necessarily allow it to have that perfection. Just do your best, okay? So lining up the ankles relatively underneath the hip points. Now, we're holding that block in place, but I haven't given you all the directives. So let's start. If you press down through the mound of the big toes, through the mound of the pinky toes, and the center of your heel, right? Just think about it as a three-pronged plug that you're plugging down into an outlet, and feel the muscles really get electrified here. But we're not really using the inner thighs yet. So what I want you to do is roll your thighs in to squeeze the block more. And then once you do that, you're going to ignite the adductor muscles, which is a very important muscle that we don't engage enough. So place your hands around the second block, and as you inhale, lift the arms up overhead. And as you lift the arms up overhead, notice if your shoulders are really hiking up towards the ears, and then just kind of slide them down a little bit. Now, that should have alleviated any pressure or discomfort if you happened to feel it in the low back once we rolled the thighs in. But we don't have to keep the arms up to relieve that. We just need to keep this openness in the belly, these transverse abdominis muscles stretching. So continue to keep the sides of the body and the spine long, and then slowly lower the block down without losing the work from the feet into the thighs. Okay, inhale. Let's come right back up to Urdhva Hastasana. And as you exhale, you're going to curve to the right. And when you curve to the right, keep planting your feet, keep rolling your thighs in, and then reach up and through the arms and block. Keep the head in between the arms. Take one more deep breath in Chandrasana. Affirming strength and courage fill up my body cells. Inhale, rise up to the top. Exhale, let's lean to the left. Again, the arms are framing the face. And if your shoulders are tight, you may find your arms are slightly ahead of you. That's okay. We're all unique individuals. One more deep breath. Inhale, bring it back up to the top end. Exhale, lower the hands. I don't know about you, but my legs are getting tired. So bend the knees and press the hips back. All right, now look down towards your feet. You should see your toes, but I want you to notice where your knees are tracking. So notice the knees should be tracking towards the center of the foot on each side. We're gonna take that block again and reach it back up alongside the ears. Heavy in your feet. Lift a little bit more out of your side lats. Take a deep breath in. Breathe it out. Affirming here, my body is no burden. It is light as air. All right, exhale. We're going to lower the hands. We're going to take that block and we're going to come up. All right, just kind of walk out the knees a little bit. Now, we're going to turn back to face the front of the mat. We're going to move more into a salutation. Just one block for now in between the thighs. The other one can be set to the side. And then when you roll your thighs in, you're going to notice your thighs push back. And that's what can create a little pressure in the low back area, which gives us the reminder to utilize our height, our length, our extension into the upper body. So go ahead and create the extension to the spine, hands to prayer position to Anjali Mudra, and then inhale, sweep the arms back and up, taking Urdhva Hastasana. As you exhale, palms together, you're going to come halfway down, meaning your wrists are going to go into that hip crease, your shoulders roll back. You're trying to make more of a 90-degree angle with your body. Crown of the head's reaching to the front, belly's hugging in. The legs are fired up, the feet are pressing down. So last week, remember, we focused on the niyamas, and one of the niyamas was to discipline, and it also translates to mean to heat and to burn. And I was saying to you guys that really it's about the inner fire of transformation. And if we continue our practice, continue our meditation, we're gonna do that natural transformation. We're gonna naturally evolve. But when we apply the yamas and the niyamas, it also helps to enhance that. But notice when we're using just the block and holding this one pose, how much heat and fire is kindling in the muscles. Let's not strip them. Let's just take the arms down at this point without bending the knees and notice the difference in your Uttanasana. I notice when I'm really using a block, I don't go as low or as deep in Uttanasana. You may notice something else. You may notice, wow, my hamstrings are really getting a deep stretch. Try to gravitate your heart a little lower towards your knees without pulling from the arms. And then on your next inhale, stack to the fingertips or slide them to your shins and just like arch up a little bit. And then exhale, release back down. Now, let's bend the knees to move that block to the side. We're going to step it to plank. And when you step to plank, your palms are pressing on your mat. Your arms are long and strong. Make sure if your head drops, you could either be puffing into your back or even collapsing your shoulder blades. So the more you press through the hands, the more you're going to engage the upper back. And then you want to bring the heart to shine forward. Good. As you exhale, descend your knees. Once you descend your knees, we're going to find a block again. And we're going to put it right between the thighs like we did earlier. We're going to crawl the hands forward. We're going to realign to plank because I want you to remember a lot of the poses we do all go back to Tadasana. So I want us to form the same action in the thighs as we would in Tadasana, that first standing mountain pose. Curl your toes, lift the knees, Shine the heart, pluck the thighs up. It's a serious plank with a block, isn't it? Now we're going to do the flying plank. Lifting the left foot, you're still holding the block. But notice you don't have to lift the foot very high. Good, exhale, lower the left foot, lift the right, point the toes back. Or spread the toes wide and reach to the ball of the foot. Exhale, release. Descend your knees, take that block. Sit back towards your heels. Hold this block in between your hands like we did earlier, except we're going to crawl the elbows forward. And bow the head between the arms. Now, your head may not touch the floor, so don't try to push the forehead down. It's okay if it hovers. Stretching out the triceps, the shoulders. And if your thighs are together, keep breathing well so that your belly's ballooning into your thighs. Very helpful for digestion. All right, we're going to lower that block back down to the mat. Scoot it off to the side. Stretch your arms out into extended child's pose. Affirming here. Our prayer is for all of mankind to live in harmony and in peace. Inhale, rock forward into upward facing dog. So you're staying stacked on your arms. Stay on your knees. And I want you to notice, if I don't think about it, look at my feet if you can. My heels tend to roll out. So we want to make the feet parallel. So I have to mindfully kind of spin my heels in a little bit so that I can feel the weight on the top of the big toe. And that fires up the buttocks as well. Now curl the toes and rock and roll back over the feet to downward facing dog. When you're in Adho Mukha Svanasana, just enjoy being here. So a lot of that heating action we've been doing with the block. Remember, this is a pose that can help to cool us down. Now gently sink back to your knees. Now when you sink to your knees, come up to standing Vajrasana a moment. Lift the arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, bring your hands together and you're going to sit back as much as you can at a very slow pace. Stop at any point along the way. And then inhale, bring it back up. This time, bring it to diamond. Exhale, slowly sit back. You don't have to go all the way to your heels, so please be mindful of your knees. Inhale, standing Vajrasana or diamond. And then exhale. We're going to do one more of those. Inhaling up. Exhale it back down. All right, so even downward facing dog should have that internal rotation with the thighs. So take the block in between them. Stand strong in your hands. Curl your toes. And we're going to launch back to downward facing dog. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, press into your palms. Draw back through your spine. Fly up through your hips. And now activate those adductor muscles, the inner thighs, rolling them inward. One more deep breath. If you need to come to your knees to remove the block, that's fine. If you can stand on one hand to remove it, that's okay as well. On your next inhalation, we're going to step the right foot through in between the hands. And if your foot is shy of that, take your hand to your calf, step it on through, turn and plant your back foot, grab one of those blocks, and come up to stand. All right. So looking at your back foot, and I know I'm probably not near you, but look at your back foot. It should be parallel to the back of the mat. Front foot's facing the top of the mat. We're going to move into side angle, but we're going to use a block. So stay facing me a moment. Lift the arms up. Exhale, lunge the knee. And then I want you to think about creating a 90-degree angle with this thigh if possible. Sometimes it's just spreading the feet a little wider. Sometimes it's dropping through the hip. All right, once you have your stability, arms lift up, and you're going to slowly lean over the front leg. All right, so if you start going much lower, notice how you may start to tip and turn down towards the floor. And I want your belly and heart to be spun open. Whew, this is some work, right? It's not only the feet gripping the mat, it's not only the hamstrings really getting fired up, but we have to engage the core. All right, I'm ready to come out. Let's take the block down, spin away from the back heel, step back, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, enjoy a nice slow breath here. And then we're going to approach side angle with the left foot in the lead. So when you're ready, step that foot through. Give yourself a helping hand if needed. Knee aligns over the ankle. Plant your back foot. Find a block. Come up to stand and go ahead and straighten that front leg. Now be particular with this back foot, because when I stood up, I don't know if you can tell, I exaggerated a little bit so you could see, my toes were slightly turned out. That is not great for the knee. So you want the foot parallel or the heel just a skosh back behind the toes. Elevate your arms. Exhale, lunge that front knee. Dip down through that thigh bone. When the feet are anchored and you feel your strength and power, lean a fraction of the way over the front thigh. Find your breath. Keep the heart open. Breath full. Becoming a fountain of boundless energy and power. All right, exhale, let's take the block down, spin away from the back heel. When you're ready, step that back foot to the top of the mat. Come halfway up upon arrival. And then exhale, release. Once you release, be here. Notice the difference in your Uttanasana without the block. Like, I know you're probably doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm pouring over, it feels good, but there's no engagement to those inner thighs. So let's bend the knees, scoop the belly in, be heavy in your feet, and roll it up cautiously, straightening the legs, unfurling the back, shoulders slip down. Tadasana. Let me see how you feel. Bring your hands to prayer. Remember, we're trying to align the physical, the mental, as well as the energetics. And the intention of the salutation is really represented well in this affirmation. So close the eyes and affirm internally salutations to the sun, to the awakening light within, and to the dawning of a much higher state of consciousness in all beings. Notice the energy and the heat between the hands. And then open up the eyes. Taking a block in between the legs. Let's correct that alignment. Plug the feet down. That's going to go ahead and energize the legs. You'll feel the kneecaps slightly lifting to engage the quads, but now work that innermost side of your thigh, rolling your thighs in, and it slightly pushes your tailbone back. But then you have to recorrect and lift out of your pelvis, lift up through your sternum. Let's circle the arms out and up. Exhale, bring the hands down the midline. We're going to pause halfway. Shoulders back, elbows in, reach through the crown of the head. Exhale, release. Notice the difference. Bend your knees tracking towards the center of the feet. Inhale, lifting up to Utkatasana. Let your pinkies roll in, your arms fly up. And then exhale, straighten the legs, keep that block contained, and fold again. All right, we're gonna remove that block. We're gonna step back plank. And then from our plank position, we're gonna descend the knees. And I think you're really gonna like this one. I actually hadn't done this before until yesterday. I've done something similar, but not quite like this. Bring the blocks on their medium height, side by side. And that similar thing to what we were doing here, holding the block in the hands, we're gonna be doing from like kind of like a puppy or melting heart position. So once you sink down to the blocks, and you gotta find the right position. Elbows rest on top, palms glued together. Ah, here it is. And then you melt down. So it is more like melting heart. You might even be able to rest your third eye, the brow, on the edge of the block. Your belly dips. And obviously, if this feels like it's too much, if it's painful, don't do it. Now, since we're in this gesture that represents gratitude, I want you to go inward, and I want you to express gratitude for 3 things in your life. All right, inhale, slowly lift the head. We'll come away from the blocks and slide them to the side. Hands are shoulder distance apart. We'll rock the hips down and open up the heart for up dog and watch those heels. Line up your legs. Firm up the buttocks. And then exhale to downward facing dog. Now from Adho Mukha Svanasana, when you're kind of hanging upside down here, I want you to just kind of shine your eyes between your toes and your wrist. And notice where the halfway point is on your mat. And it may be right at your knees or just ahead of your knees as you descend them back to the floor. Now mark that spot. Again, it could be here where the knees are or just in front. So let's go ahead and set the blocks up side by side. And then what we're going to attempt to do today, when we're stepping forward, you know, when we're in a sun towel, we're stepping up to the top of the mat. The idea is to really pull the belly in and to really strengthen the core as you step the foot through So we're gonna have the blocks here to step over so you can test it out. So come back to downward facing dog. And we're gonna try to scale over the block, okay? And when we do this, you may actually have to lift one of the wrists and come to the fingertips. Sometimes that's what we need to do. So watch, as you inhale, lift your heels, lift your belly, see if you can draw that knee in and scale over the block. It doesn't have to be perfect, just see if it's possible. Now I had to lift my wrist to get there. Now I'm bringing that right foot over a little bit just to step back to down dog because we need to do the other side too. When you're ready, pull that belly in, lift that heel high, see if you can scale over the blocks. It's a lot, right? All right, one more step back. You may have to switch that foot over slightly to the right in order to recreate down dog. All right, and exhale. Slowly sink back to your knees. We are going to come down to the floor and stretch out the legs. And I'm actually going to turn towards you for this. And you're going to need both blocks again. So what we're going to do is, I'll mirror you. Have your left leg out in front. And your right knee is bent with the foot connected to the inner thigh for Janu Shirshasana. And the blocks are kind of framing it here, okay? All right, as you inhale, the arms are gonna lift, and we're gonna interlace the hands and create this little umbrella. As you exhale, you're gonna start to drive yourself over that leg. Now, if your hands can't find your foot, just bring your blocks in, maybe just rest your elbows on top, or maybe rest your hands on top, right, if you need to be here. If you had that little umbrella and the hands could wrap around the foot, I want you to take a block to the sole of the foot, and you're gonna hold that with your hands. And then, of course, if you wanna lower, you may. But that may be enough just at that first height. So check in. Now, regardless of which format you're using, you're trying to sink the back of the thigh towards the floor. You're trying to keep that front foot flexed. Breathe in and out through the nose. One more breath. And then when you come up, all right, the blocks are going to be on either side of the calf. And you're going to take the hands to set behind you just to help to prop you up to keep good posture. We're going to strengthen the hip and the quads and the lower belly or core here. And I saw this on Instagram last night. So I'm taking it from a yoga teacher off Instagram, someone from Great Britain. As you inhale, lift the leg up, and you're gonna take it to the outside of one of the blocks. Doesn't matter which way you go. All right, and then inhale, lift it up, and then exhale, slowly set it back down. Try to stay in control as much as you can. Inhale, lift the leg up, and then cross it over to the other side. Can't you feel the strength factor in this? Lifting up on the inhale, lowering on the exhale. Lifting on the inhale, releasing on the exhale. All right, now slide that foot in. Bring both knees in, wrap your arms around, hugging them close. And then we'll take that to the other side. So let your other leg extend, and then open up from the other hip. Create some space. When you're ready, Janu Shasana. Inhale, the arms will lift up. Lace to create the umbrella. And then exhale, fold. And so if you need to stop somewhere along the way and you're shy of the foot, that's okay. Hands to the blocks. Elbows to the blocks. If you can wrap the hands around, remember you're slightly turning the belly button over the thigh. If you can wrap the hands around, go ahead and find the block. That's going to keep the flexion. I learned this when I first started yoga from an Iyengar practice. Iyengar yoga, they use a lot of props. They're very meticulous with alignment. I want you to turn to your breath, because remember, today's practice, it's not just about alignment and postures. It's including that pranayama. The pranayama is so important. It's truly the heart of yoga. And I believe the breath, if it stays under your command, is what brings the magic to the practice. Inhale, come up. Now we get to do the strengthening. Hands behind the back. I almost told you guys in the email, like, we're going to be working on strength, but then I thought you might not show up. As you inhale, flex the foot and lift. And then as you exhale, step it to the other side. And I want to remind you, go ahead and continue. You know what we're doing. And of course, you could do this in lots of sets. We're just going to do a couple sets of this. But if this is your weak area, maybe you want to explore this more. Women tend to have stronger lower bodies. Men tend to have stronger upper bodies. All right, we're going to slide that foot in, lift the other knee up. Feel free to play with that a little bit more if you need strength in those areas. We're still going to use our blocks. Find one, and we're going to roll down to the back. And we're going to do bridge. So the first thing I want you to do is flatten the feet to the floor, dig the feet into the sticky mat, and then start to tuck and lift. All right, so I just want you to notice how it feels first. How does this bridge feel? Pay attention. Exhale, lower. Now, pick up the feet. Place the block between your thighs. Set the feet back down. And I want you to notice how it changes it up. Arms lengthen beside you, palms face down. Glue the feet to the sticky mat. Push down through them. Squeeze that block and tuck and lift. Notice the difference. It's different, right? Hamstrings, buttocks, really engaged. I had a gentleman in class this morning and we were working on this. He's fairly new, but he has great body awareness. And he's a master archer. And he was telling me he struggled at first in this pose, but he realized he was trying to use his arms to lift, right? He was going towards his strength in his upper body. And then once he started applying the work through the feet with the block, then he could feel how it's strengthening the back of the body, the hamstrings, the glutes, the back. And that's what we're aiming for. Take one more breath. And exhale, roll it down. All right, when you roll it down, Draw the knees in. Apanasana. Nice counter. So a couple weeks ago, we worked on psoas release. And I want to do that with the block too. So remove that block. Recreate bridge, but not very meticulously. We're just lifting up enough to place the block under the sacrum. Your arms can relax. Your palms can turn open. And so you're going to lift your right knee. And hopefully you know football. If you don't know football, you'll have to look to see what I'm doing. We're going to stiff arm the right knee. So as you stiff arm the right knee, you are trying to be like that football player who's coming strong towards you, right? But you're also resisting it with your arm. All right, so the knees pulling in, and the hands pushing it out, out, out. Equal resistance, okay? One more breath. Now, stretch the right leg out all the way, possibly, to rest on your heel. And now it's gonna really release that iliopsoas muscle. Let's do the same thing to the left. Now, if this doesn't feel good to your body, just take one more breath and then walk the right foot back. It's okay if you don't want to hold the right leg straight. But we are going to stiff arm the left knee. So lift that left foot. And as the knee drives towards your chest, you're going to stiff arm it with your left hand. Press, press, press together. Keep breathing. Keep resisting. Now, after we've created that tension and resistance, we're going to release it. Straightening the left leg, resting the heel. And I'll admit, there are some days where I cannot have both legs straight at one time. So I understand if you need to bend the right knee or both. Let's just relax here for a few rounds of breath. Now, bend your knees. And if you want to fly the feet up for waterfall pose, you can. No, we're not putting a block in between the thighs for this pose, but imagine that there is. The thighs rolling in like they're going to kiss is what we're attempting to do even in this pose when we're being active. It's the same thing we're doing in shoulder stand. So there's Tadasana legs here. One more deep breath. And as you exhale, lower the feet to the floor, tuck and lift. Roll it down to your back. And then catch your feet for a happy baby pose. Now remember, you can always hold the back of your thighs or knees and just flex your feet. You can always pull down on your shins if you can't reach the feet. This is going to be our counter. And this is a good counter because think about how we've been rolling the thighs in using those adductor muscles. And now we're fanning the legs out, which is more of an abduction. We're also sinking and anchoring the low back to the ground after it was lifted on the block. Okay, let's release the feet. And we're going to place the block. This is our last block pose, by the way. Maybe. I'm going to give you a choice for Shavasana. So with the block between the knees, open up your arms and let the knees roll off to the left. Now, we're not worried about the strength factor in this pose. We're just using the block as a prop to make it a little bit more restorative. Bring the pose to life by breathing nice and slow, slow and steady. Inhale, draw the knees to center, and then let them roll to the right. So remember, if this twist doesn't normally feel good, especially to your shoulders or your low back, when we're not using a prop, remember this is always available. You can always use a block or bolster or a folded blanket. Inhale, draw the knees to center. Now, this is where you can determine, do you want to just, kind of be sprawled out in corpse pose today for our deep rest? Or do you want to use these blocks since they're available? Maybe you've had so much internal rotation with your thighs, you want that external rotation from your hips, and you want to be in reclined butterfly. So the blocks can stack underneath your knees. Then once you determine which position or shape you want, settle in by closing your eyes. And you actually don't even need to continue to hold the breath. Don't have to control it anymore. Just let it flow naturally. So when you feel that impulse to breathe in, just breathe in. And when you feel compelled to breathe out, breathe out. Rest easy and breathe easy. And if you need something to focus on, maybe just counting your breaths one by one. Things come in through the senses, acknowledge them, but then try to let it go. Distractions are basically attractions to the senses. You're still counting your breaths. Take 7 more. As you complete those, draw the knees together if you're in butterfly. Whatever position you're in, you can now enclose the knees into your arms. We're going to roll over to one side of the body. Take a moment here. And then we're going to slowly lift up. So remember, I said asana, comfortable, stable seat. And hopefully you were able to get aligned to that, even though we were working physically in those poses. Now, we're sitting in a cross-legged position, but this is not a position that's comfortable for most people. I'm going to try to teach you another seat and something you may already do. And I'm going to give you several different options. One option, if you're really flexible through your ankles and knees, is to roll your calves out and to sit down in between your ankles. This is a lot though. This is even a lot for the quads. And I'm going to show you from a side view why it's a lot for the ankles, right? Because see how the feet are kind of flattening down? And I know that's not possible for a lot of people. So one thing that you could do, if it's your ankles, is to create a little lift with a blanket for that. And you can sit on your heels as another alternative with or without the blanket. And the beauty of blocks is they not only can make poses more dynamic and heated like you experience, but it can also make it more available or therapeutic or restorative. So sitting on a block, there's not as much weight in the ankles, not as much flexion in the knees, not as much of a stretch through the quads, but sometimes even this can be a lot. So even stacking 2 blocks can be nice. This actually feels really good. And then, if it doesn't work for your body, that's okay, leave it out. I'm gonna turn to face you. So basically the 2 blocks are like the meditation benches. The meditation benches are about this height. They're made of wood. The only difference is instead of how the blocks are flat, the meditation bench would have a little bit of an angle for you to get a little more neutral low back. But even here, I feel like I have a neutral low back. So find one of those that will work. And if it doesn't work, sit comfortably however you wish. Now, I know I'm not nearing you. So for men, we're going to do the mudra. So you would have your right hand on top. For all the ladies, your left hand on top, thumbs touching. And close the eyes. This is the mudra for being contemplative and meditative. Asana, comfortable, stable seat. The asanas we've been performing were to prepare us to sit. Cleaning out the body, opening up the body, preparing the body. And the pranayama and the focus and the internal work is to aid in focusing the mind. Let's sit in silence together for a moment. Remembering that scripture from the book of Psalms, be still and know that I am. Or consider the book that Ramdas wrote, the expression he's known for, be here now. Now bring your palms together to Anjali Mudra, bowing your head. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti means peace. When it's said 3 times, it means may we all be free and at peace from anything out of our control. May we be free and at peace from anything imposed upon us. And may we be free and at peace from any internal turmoil of our own. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Thanks, you guys.